Panel's here to discuss Bakari. Is the government, never again will the immense power of the state be weaponized to persecute political opponents, President Trump said when he was inaugurated. Is he keeping his word?
I think most Americans would agree. I mean, that weaponization is now the central focus of the Department of Justice. It's not keeping us safe. It's not keeping Americans safe. It's not going after or prosecuting drug traffickers or all these other things.
God, y'all, sorry I'm not using a YouTube clip because YouTube doesn't have all the fresh and latest, CNN Scott Jennings dismantling woke panel of woke idiot BLM tools. And in this clip, we're all going to watch Scott Jennings dismantle, especially Bakari Sellers. Like, first off, can you get that bottom tooth fixed? Like, what the heck? Anyway, Bakari Sellers is going to get dismantled by Scott Jennings. Scott Jennings is going to do what Scott Jennings does best by destroying the whole entire panel, this whole panel of total hypocrites. It's the same hypocrisy all the time with these people. So let's go ahead and get into this clip of Scott Jennings destroying the entire panel of this woke, ridiculous nonsense.
It's literally an arm of Donald Trump prosecuting his enemies. And not only that, but we can see what happened in Virginia in the Comey case, because he had someone who did not find probable cause. He literally got rid of his own U.S. attorney and put somebody who, is just simply inept and unqualified to actually have that job. We've talked about DEI hires forever, but she is so inept and so unqualified to be the U.S. attorney. Then now you're going to have a case that's probably going to fall apart against Comey, but the question is who's next? And that's what he's using the Department of Justice for.
Well, she was apt and qualified enough to get a grand jury to look at the evidence and return 2 charges against him. Are you saying that this process, which is used all over the country every single day to bring crimes all over the code, is somehow broken? These are ordinary citizens in a liberal jurisdiction who looked at evidence from a prosecutor and said, yeah, it looks like there's something here. Is that not what happened?
Yeah, but you can indict a ham sandwich. I can have a grand jury go in there and say that Bakari Sellers is the next Denzel Washington. That is just the way the process works.
I don't think you could find a grand jury that would do that.
How is this?
Sorry. Shout out to Scott Jennings, too, for making that joke about not being able to find a grand jury to do that, because Scott Jennings actually meant that about Bakari Sellers, and I know he did. If you guys like this clip, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and the notification bell. So what we have here is Bakari Sellers saying that Comey is, that the judge is who got Comey indicted, who allowed for the indictment of Comey, is somehow dumb. Somehow she's not smart, simply because this happened. But who are you to say she's not dumb? You ever do her job before? What do you know? Who are you, Bakari? Who even are you? So that's just not even an argument. It just sounds ridiculous, really, to be honest.
Landing with voters, do you think?
So this is the sort of thing where right now there are issues like cost of living, things that are affecting people's pocketbooks that are so much higher up on the list. It is true that for Democrats, issues like threats to democracy, worries about is our system hanging together properly, are the top issue for them. But right now, for political independence, something like this is probably potentially troubling. But Republicans can say, hey, look, as soon as Donald Trump was indicted in New York on what they felt were pretty ticky-tack charges back then, this is just another chapter in a story tale as old as time.
So let's just bring up this graphic here of Trump retaliation. Here are just some of Trump's political opponents. Former FBI Director James Comey has been indicted. The New York Attorney General Letitia James is under investigation. Senator Adam Schiff under investigation. Former Special Counsel Jack Smith under investigation. Former National Security Advisor John Bolton under investigation, and we do expect there will be charges filed. Retired General Mark Milley under investigation. Former CIA Director John Brennan under investigation. Former CISA Director Chris Krebs under investigation. Former DHS official Miles Taylor under investigation.
Look, this is what Donald Trump said he was going to do during the campaign. He said, I am your retribution. He was very clear this is what he was going to do. And I think it's actually Republican willingness to normalize, apologize for this behavior. I was listening to you interview Speaker Johnson, and it's just striking to watch congressional Republicans essentially say that the President of the United States going on social media and directing a U.S. attorney to indict a political opponent after Previous efforts to do so fell short through an IG report that found no wrongdoing, through prosecutors in the district who said that there was not sufficient evidence to bring the case. So watching somebody like Speaker Johnson normalize that, it sends us down an incredibly dangerous path. And I do think the other thing I would say just quickly to Kristen's point, or to piggyback on what Kristen was saying, I do think there's actually also an opportunity cost here with voters for Trump. People voted for him in huge part to bring costs down. The more they watch him focus on personal retribution, yes, it motivates his base. Yes, it motivates the Democratic base. But for these voters in the middle who are looking for their cost of living to come down, for their lives to be better, they say, why are you not focused on what matters to me?
I'm stunned to hear you say we're now worried about normalizing this kind of thing. We had an attorney.
You are about to do right now. Let's hear it.
I'm about to tell you what happened in the state of New York when the Democratic Attorney General ran an entire political campaign promising not to uphold justice, but to prosecute one person, Donald Trump. And I didn't hear a lot of weeping and gnashing of teeth among Democrats about normalizing the weaponization of justice. That chart you put up there, my question is, do they deserve it? If they didn't do anything wrong, I'm not certain anything bad's going to happen to them. Bolton, that started under Joe Biden. James, I mean, these people that you put on the screen, they may have something that needs to be looked at. But don't you have trust in the processes, grand juries? This is how the system works, and I don't have any. And Jim Comey, he's going to go to trial.
I think it's the abuse.
He's going to get a day in court in front of a jury of his peers.
It's the abuse of the system, and what we're talking about is the abuse of the system.
What abuse? What abuse beyond the idea of prosecuting people when Democrats were going after Trump? Were you worried about abuse?
Because I firmly believe that Donald Trump broke the law, and he was indicted.
Do you think the 34 charges that are cited all the time were good charges?
But let me just say this. I mean, you just sat here and talked about the process. You gave me a lecture about the grand jury system. Well, Donald Trump actually went to trial and got convicted.
Correct.
That is the process he went through. And let me just explain to you the difference in the abuse and the difference in departments of justice. I mean, we can go all the way back to Republicans having a fit when JFK tried to nominate RFK, his brother, to be Attorney General. But I can actually go back to Joe Biden. Joe Biden indicted his own son. Did he deserve to be indicted? Yes. But he indicted his own son.
You're saying the White House was directing. You're saying the White House was directing indictments. But you're saying they were directing indictments. That's a revelation.
Have one person speak at a time. What were you just saying?
Yeah, he did pardon him, and I think it does then that really sets forth this notion that there is this two-tiered system of justice in this country where the wealthy, the powerful, the connected have tended to be able to get away with doing things that they shouldn't have done. Now, that's not to say that in this case, what Jim Comey did was definitely bad. That this all needs to be sussed out in the courts. But there's been a lot of folks in Donald Trump's orbit who have been pursued, have gone to prison, and you may say, well, look, they did something wrong, they deserved it. That's all that Republicans are saying now, which is why this is feeling like a bit of a wash, at least in some of the data.
But you also cannot find another example of a president, not Bill Clinton, not Barack Obama, not Ronald Reagan, not George W. Bush, publicly directing his Department of Justice to pursue an indictment. And those protections, that precedent, that exists to protect all of us, to protect American citizens from their government pursuing them. And that breaking that normalization, that is dangerous and that is unprecedented.
All right, thanks one and all for being here.
Okay, so here's my take on all of this. You know, excuse me, sorry, because I'm not editing that out. Sorry, guys. But I think that, first off, I mean, you know, Scott did a good job explaining things. We don't go back to Bakari Sellers, who's saying, Bakari Sellers is who can't keep up with the conversation, brings up the worst example you could use is Joe Biden indicting Hunter Biden. Yeah, and then he went on to pardon his son. Okay, so stop it. It's all for show and games, right? But let me go back. I wish I could go back to that chart, but yeah, this thing doesn't work like that. On the chart, there was two names. That Letitia James, I remember she said she was going to go after Donald Trump for everything. They indicted that man on some sort of fraud because he paid more money for his properties. It was ridiculous, right? But General Mark Milley was talking to China and telling China that, you know, if things get bad, I'll let you know because he's getting crazy. What the hell is going on? You know what I mean? This is insane. That's national security type of like, are you kidding me? I didn't forget that. I didn't. No matter what my issues are, sometimes I do have issues with the administration. Yes, I do. People do. But I knew this was coming. I knew that this was coming where people were going to get indicted. I think more people should be indicted because of who put the J6ers in jail without due process. Who did that, right? I'm still mad about that. I think those people should be in trouble too. So spare me. Spare me with the, oh, we can't do it for this reason and that reason. You people went after American citizens and called them domestic terrorists, okay? Get out of here. Are you kidding me? People didn't forget. I didn't forget either. So it's going to play out how it's going to play out. Bakari Sellers is really annoying. I'll see you guys at the next one. Bye.